Hi, good evening. This is my submission for a couple of top coder challenges, which are very much similar. So what I did was I clubbed those two challenge videos into one, and I'm gonna show you, demo you both the challenges in the same video, and I'm gonna upload the video to both the challenges as well, so that you can take a look at it. So the first challenge is the Salesforce SQL cold cache logging. So the requirement of this challenge is basically to log the execution time of a SQL query during multiple times. So SQL query runs can be scheduled to run at different times, and log the execution times and look at the performance. I mean, when it's when well when we say the performance is, what happens is behind the scenes in the database, the query, when it runs once, it gets cached, and so next time when you run the same query, it will take comparatively less amount of time than the first time. That's because the query is already cached behind the scenes. So it's that's what the cold caching is, and we wanted and as per the challenge, we wanted to see how long the caching will be present, and when the cache will be cleared out. So that's basically the determination that needs to be done. But in a more generic way, just to give us like an overview or a graphical view of how much time it took to run, we can get it from this challenge. So what I did was I installed the unmanaged package to get the Apex log object, and I'm basically using the Apex log object to load all the data into the record. So you can see that I loaded the status message, the response info, the class name, method name, the message. So to just give you a overview, the response info is basically the number of milliseconds or the time it took for the query to run. I'm putting it in the response info. A class name is just Apex class name. Method name is the unique ID, unique identifier that is assigned to a particular query. So and the message is actual query. So what I'm doing is I'm storing the query in the message, and the ID of the message in the method name. And the status message is if you wanted to group a set of runs, you can use the status message. And it is very important because when you display a chart using the status message, you can get all the records in a particular group, in a given group. I'll show you in a short how that can be done, but that's what the status message is. And if you go to the code, so I have this class called log manager. What this log manager class will do is it has like a public variable called query map, where you can load the queries into the query map, and you can call this schedule logs method, and the schedule logs method will create a scheduler for you, and it will schedule the jobs for you on an hourly basis. I mean, if you look at the schedule, it gets executed every hour, but there is a custom setting. So if you let me show you the job name. So you can see that there is a custom setting, query log settings dot schedule SQL, which is by default is defined to 2. So what happens is it takes the modulo as defined in the documentation. It takes the modulo, and if the modulo is equal to 0, then it runs it. So if you define it as a 2, it runs every 2 hours. So second hour, fourth hour, sixth hour, eighth hour. Whenever the module, if it is defined to 3, it will run every third hour, sixth hour, ninth hour, 12th hour, like that. So so you can basically change the custom settings of and determine when the job needs to run. By default, it is set to 2. So let me show you how it is scheduled. While it's loading, I wanted to show you that. So I'm basically using simple queries. I'm not using like really complex queries, but if you have complex queries, you can use them. That's not a big deal. It runs the same way. So if you don't provide the queries, it loads it from the initialize queries method. It takes these simple queries and it runs these queries. So I have 5 queries that I'm loading, and it runs those queries. So this is the log group that I'm setting. So the one that I've shown you, it's called Sockle execution, right? If you wanted to set it to a different name, we can just define the log group and you can do that. So now I'm scheduling the job. So it says let me go to the so you can see the job that is scheduled, and its next one is at 8 o'clock Pacific time. So next time when it runs, it looks at that custom setting. Since 8 can be divided by 2 with a modulus of 0, it runs the job and it inserts the records with the execution times. And the same thing happens at 9 o'clock. It runs and the modulo would be a 1 or not a 0, so it will not run it. It will skip the job. So that's how the scheduler works. Not only the scheduler, if you really wanted to run it on demand, all you can do is you can call this method directly by passing in the map and the log group name, and it will run the job for you immediately on demand. So these are all the executions. So let me go ahead and click on the Sockle series. So this is a series chart for the Sockle execution. I know it's kind of like clunky, but let me show you. Right. So this is the series chart, and it gives you the description. So the A is this query, B is this query. So you can hide and show all the queries. So I have 5 queries, and you can see that on the right side, you can see that it took 23 milliseconds on 9:35 February 21st basically, and you can see the changes. It is changing to 6 milliseconds, 8 milliseconds, 5, 6 again, 23, and you can see if you go to the end, it took like 70 milliseconds. That was like the last time it ran. And you can also zoom in, zoom out, and you can show multiple queries as I'm showing you. So the 2 lines or C, E, E, so you can show up to like 10 queries, and they will show you here. You can see all the query runs which are highlighted on the top right side corner. So that's how it is showing the series chart for the Sockle execution. So you can see everything over here. So 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 the code behind that one is I'm using a Visualforce component basically. I mean, if you look at the page, it's very simple. That's it. This is the page, and I'm using a Visualforce component. I'm passing the log group, which is Sockle execution. The chart number, since I have only one chart, I'm passing the chart number, and the title that is displayed over here. So the log group is Sockle execution, right? So what it is doing is all the Sockle executions from the status message, it is pulling it. It is grouping by the created date. So like a set of queries are created on the same date. So it is grouping by the created date, and it is getting the response info for each and every method name, which is a unique identifier, and it is generating a series chart for you. So that's basically what it is doing. Let me show you. and you can as I said, you can show hide, you can toggle between all the queries, and it's going to display only one whatever you need. So it's displaying E, which is select ID from lead limit. So on a period of time when you run a lot of executions with a lot of Apex records, you can see a really good fluctuations if there is a real fluctuation. So that's the SOQL query series. So now going, my next submission was actually, which is very much similar, is the record count with Apex audit log. So this one is, as it says in the first line, it's very much similar to the cold cache logging, but instead of running the SOQL query, I'm running a database.query count, and I'm getting the number of records and storing it in the response info. So if you go to the bottom, you can see the record count, and on the response info you can see all these record counts. These are the record counts of the actual record counts that came when I run this query. So if I look at this one, so this is the query, select count from contact, that's the query, right? So when I run that query, I'm getting the record count. So I have account record count, contact record count, and it has the method name. As I said, the method name is kind of a unique identifier, so you can give it any name. So I'm giving it like a contact total, account total, contact updates, inserts, something like this. And I'm basically storing everything here. So you can schedule this job to run the record counts again from the log manager. So all you have to do is you have to turn this one to false. So let me go ahead and show you. So it's the same log manager. You have to turn this one to false, and you can define when you want to run this job. And that's the cron R. So it runs on a daily basis, because it doesn't make any sense for us to run like the record counts on an hourly basis unless it is required. But if that is required, a simple change can be made. But now it, as per the requirement, it runs on a daily basis, but you can choose when to start, like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and that's the cron R. And you can say you can turn this one false and do the schedule logs. It will create a scheduler for you which runs on a daily basis. And you can the same thing again. So there is this query map uh, public uh, variable which you can define. We define using these values like select count, or any queries that return you the count, and you can just call the schedule logs method. So let's do that. So you can see that record count response. So the next is at 9 o'clock. But I already have some data. So it's again the same. I'm using the same component, Visualforce component. So I click on the record count series, and I'm displaying the series chart for the account records and series charts for the contact records. Let me go to the Visualforce page. So this is the Visualforce page that I'm using to get those. So the page is basically just calling the component with the log group, account record count, chart number 1, and contact record count, chart number 2. So you just define the chart numbers as unique values and give the log groups, and you can display the log groups. I mean, if you wanted to pull the SOQL response times into this page, you can do that as well. All you have to do is chart number 3, and that's it. It shows up. And you can do the same thing. You can show, hide. So if you wanted to show just the totals, this is just the totals, and it's the same thing. So contact, you can do the same thing, and it will give you the same like the description, and the unique ID that we are